The author of Hebrews is writing to encourage people who experience severe challenges to their faith. Reading from Hebrews 12, 1 through 3. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and the sin that clings so closely. Let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith, who, for the sake of the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, disregarding its shame, and has taken his seat at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who has endured such hostility against himself from sinners, so that you may not grow weary in your souls or lose heart. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
I came across this photo of me and my sisters on our deck one winter in Moberly, Missouri. Can you guess which one is me? I'll give you a hint. When we went out to play in the winter snow, we had great fun. We also need to wear a lot of layers. Make sure we had our mittens and our scarves and our hats and our boots. And for the reference to the Sunday school class that I was in, this had to stand in for go-go boots for me. I never got go-go boots, but the white galoshes were going to have to cover it. Well, on one winter outing, it had snowed and the drifts were really deep. And so my two older sisters, Jean and Linda, and I went out and we were walking in the snow. And I was getting further and further behind because as I stepped into those snowbanks, don't you know the snow came up over the top of those boots, and ooh, that was rather chilly. Well, my sister Jean looked back and saw that I was struggling, and so she made a suggestion. She said, "Here, Deann, you step into my footprints." And so it went a lot better, and I was very appreciative of my older sisters. I think it was with the same sort of appreciation that this letter to the ancient Hebrew Christians was written. For in chapter 11, the author recalls people of faith who had gone before. He remembers the faith of Noah, who built an ark before there was a cloud in the sky. He thought about Abraham and Sarah, who set out for a new land on God's command without so much as a road map. And the writer also reminded the readers of Moses, who left Egypt in spite of Pharaoh's threats. There were a lot of names listed in chapter 11. Lots of faithful followers who were really too many to name, so much so that the author asks in verse 32, "Well, how much more do I need to say?" Perhaps, though, what the writer finds most important about all of these examples is actually found in the next chapter. Chapter 12, verse 1 says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and the sin that clings so closely, and let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us." Now, the writer of this letter to the Hebrews wanted the new Christians to know that they were not alone. They had some mighty big footprints to lead the way. And no doubt this was an assuring thought, for this letter is believed to have been written during the reign of Nero, sometime after 64 AD. and he instituted one of the worst periods of persecution the church had ever known. Now, thankfully, we don't face the same sort of persecution in the United States as the first readers of this letter did, and as some faithful followers in other countries endure today. Still, our lives have their own hardships and setbacks. Everyone faces times of doubt and discouragement. We struggle to know what it means to be faithful, and we wonder how to meet the challenges that are before us. What may help us, though, is to realize how great a cloud of witnesses are around us, too. There are Abraham and Sarah, Moses and Noah, there's Stephen and Paul, John the Baptist and Mary Magdalene, and some others that we may know from the Bible. But there are also others in that cloud. There are the ones who taught us to pray, the people who showed us what it meant to forgive. There are folks who took time to teach us about Jesus. And in that great cloud of witnesses are those who demonstrated courage and faith in the face of obstacles. And there are those who, by their very integrity and love, show us what being a Christian is all about. As I look back on my life, I was blessed with some mighty big footprints to follow. Many, by their encouragement and their love, challenged me to do more than what I thought I was capable of doing. By their examples, I had some guideposts to travel by. People paved the way for me as I prepared for the next leg of my journey. Whose footprints are you following in the faith? What sort of encouragement, inspiration, and challenge have they provided for you? It's a great cloud of witnesses, isn't it? But you know, even as we remember a great cloud of witnesses who have gone before us, who have left those nice big footprints for us to follow, we must understand that there's also a cloud of witnesses coming behind us. While we may not have little sisters or brothers, children or grandchildren following us, we do have witnesses behind us who are looking to us to show the way. There are co-workers and our classmates who know we attend church, and they watch us to see what a difference it makes in our lives. This cloud of witnesses includes a store clerk who is surprised when we return change that does not belong to us, or the stranger in need who wonders why we care, or the enemy who sees us turn the other cheek, or a friend who knows that we'll go the extra mile. This second cloud of witnesses is looking to us to discover what Jesus means to us and what he can mean to them. Now, if you're like me, you just as soon not have some of these witnesses behind you. In fact, knowing that some of these folks are observing my journey makes me a little nervous. What if I step out of line? What if I'm not sure of the way? Whether we like it or not, however, the fact remains we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. The question is, are we going to take our responsibility seriously? Do we even care where our footprints lead? The writer of this letter to the Hebrew Christians must have cared, for he challenged them to go forward, to run the race of faith. Now, he's not speaking of a leisurely jaunt here. He told the early Christians to give it all they had. The word which is translated run with perseverance in the New Revised Standard Version may not convey its full meaning, for the Greek traxomen means so much more. It means to exert oneself to the limit of one's powers in an attempt to go forward. It means stretching every fiber of our being to reach for the finish line. It means go for broke. Give it all you've got. Is that what we're doing where our faith is concerned? Is the completion of our faith journey straining our spiritual muscles, or just an exercise in futility? The passage in Hebrews suggests that if we want to finish well, we need to get rid of those things that are hindering our progress, the sin that is weighing us down. Normally, I am not a list maker. In fact, if you see me making a list of things that need to be getting done, it means that my life has gone from difficult to impossible, and the pressure is really on. Daniel Lepkin, author of the book People of Promise, shares about a conference he attended at Willow Creek Church. The leader, Jim, had asked all of those in the audience who make to-do lists to raise their hand. And over the half of the room raised their hands. And then Jim asked all of those who make stop doing list raise their hands. And there was laughter in the auditorium. A stop doing list? No one had heard of that. Yet it may be what we stop doing, which is just as important as the stuff that we add to our to-do list. Look at your life. Is there some sin that is holding you back in your relationship with God? Is there resentment, anger, and guilt that you need to set aside? Are there habits that are steering you off course? Then we need to get rid of whatever is holding us back from having a good finish in the life of faith. Many of us are fortunate today to have some pretty big footprints to follow. This cloud of witnesses has run well and inspired us and encouraged us to do the same. But I want us to consider the other cloud of witnesses as well. These ones who are coming behind us. What legacy are we leaving them? Where do your footprints lead?